Hi guys, welcome to my very first travel video from Rotterdam. That skyline you see across the Maas river near the iconic Erasmusbrug is where my journey here really begins. I have taken a sabbatical from my work as an I.R.S. officer back in India to spend the next year exploring, learning and chasing some long postponed dreams in music, writing, travel and health. And this city, rebuilt with such resilience, feels like the perfect place to start. So come along with me. This is week 1 in Rotterdam. Now we are walking through the Binnenrotte, one of Rotterdam's most vibrant squares. Just behind me is the growth of St. Laurenskerk, the only surviving late Gothic church in the city. Built in the 15th century, it stood as a silent witness when most of Rotterdam was flattened during the Second World War, and today it's a reminder of the city's resilience. From here, everything is just a few steps away. To one side, you will find the market hall, an incredible horseshoe-shaped building that combines a bustling food market with apartments built right into its arch. Look up inside and you will see a massive ceiling artwork, often called Rotterdam's Sistine Chapel of Groceries. A few steps further is Rotterdam Black Station, where trains and metros converge under that futuristic glass canopy. And right next to it are the famous cube houses, tilted 45 degrees, designed by architect Piet Blom to look like a forest where each cube is a tree. Beside them stands the pencil building, named of course for its unmistakable shape. And then there's the Central Library, a bright yellow tube-covered building that many locals joke looks like a giant vacuum cleaner. Rotterdam really isn't afraid to experiment with its architecture. Even the art here surprises you, like this playful bronze leg sculpture casually propped up as if someone forgot it here after a football match. It's all part of how the city mixes humor with history, daily life with bold design. This square really is Rotterdam in miniature, old, new, quirky and alive. So now we are heading into Rotterdam's metro. Public transport here is really the lifeline of the city, not just the metro, but trains, trams, buses, ferries, and of course the good old bicycle. In fact, you will notice that most journeys here are a mix. Walk a bit, cycle a bit, hop on a tram or metro. It all connects so seamlessly. What strikes me is how little human interface there is. No ticket counters, no one checking passes. Just tap your bank card or credit card at the gate and you're through. Even opening the metro doors is something you do yourself. Press the button when it stops and only then does the door open. It feels minimalistic, efficient and trusting. Of course, part of the reason it works so smoothly is scale. The entire Netherlands has about 17 million people. That's half the population of just Kerala. And Rotterdam itself is barely 6.5 lakhs. Compare that with Mumbai at over 2 crore or Delhi at almost 3 crore. And you begin to see why the Mumbai local or the Delhi metro needs armies of staff and layers of systems just to keep things moving. Rotterdam doesn't deal with that kind of volume, so its transport feels quieter, almost effortless. I would like to see the day that these kind of systems in Europe deals with the kind of scale that India does. The metro here has been around since 1968, making it the first underground system in the Benelux region. Today, there are 5 lines connecting the city with surrounding towns and even extending into The Hague. And while it may not be as vast as the Delhi metro, it certainly is well integrated into daily life. Step inside and you notice another difference: silence. People ride in peace. No loud phone calls, no shouting across compartments. Everyone just minds their own business. Coming from India, where trains and metros are full of chatter, snacks being shared, and sometimes even impromptu singing, it feels almost surreal. Both have their charm, but here, the quiet almost makes the journey feel meditative. Another thing I really like is how all the modes of transport feel like one big ecosystem. The same card that works on the metro works on trams, buses, and even trains. And if you're cycling, you'll find dedicated racks at every station, often guarded or underground, so your bike is as much a part of your daily commute as the metro itself. It's also interesting how design plays a role. Metro stations here are clean, bright, and often have a kind of understated architecture. Nothing grand like the old Indian railway stations, but efficient and practical. Escalators and lifts are everywhere, making it accessible for everyone. And yet, despite all this modernity, frequency is modest. Trains don't come every 2 minutes like in Delhi or Mumbai. Sometimes you wait 5-10 minutes. But nobody seems in a rush. Schedules are reliable, so people simply plan their day around it. That's a very Dutch thing, trusting the system enough to relax. All of this together makes public transport here less of a survival battle and more of a routine comfort. It tells you a lot about the culture, organized, quiet and efficient. For me, as someone coming from India, it's fascinating to see how a system designed for smaller numbers creates such a different rhythm of urban life.
Had to cut it off before you made me worthless. Torn apart, I've been torn and scarred. I had a given art, but now I'm thinking smart. I'm keeping up my guard, I'm hiding every card. A royal flush of love, you never know what's hard. With a back to the mat, gonna see where I'm at. I'ma fight like I'm mad, I'ma be something that they can never be me. Nice try, but they'll see I achieve everything while they stay salty.
The building you see here is the Depot Boymans van Buningen, or simply the Depot. At first sight, it almost doesn't look real. A giant mirrored bowl, about 40 meters high, reflecting the sky, the trees, and even the rest of Rotterdam's skyline back at you. Depending on the weather, it changes personality completely. On a sunny day, it gleams like silver. On a cloudy day, it blends into the mist, and at night, it glows softly like a lantern. It was opened in 2021 and is world's first publicly accessible art storage facility. Usually, museums display just 5 to 10% of their collection. The rest is locked away in basements or storage warehouses, never to be seen by the public. Rotterdam decided to break that tradition. They built the depot to house the entire Boymans van Buningen collection, over 150,000 works, and made it accessible to visitors. You are not just seeing an exhibition here, you are peeking into the backstage of the art world. And it's not just a storage box. The building itself is a piece of art designed by the Dutch architecture firm MVRDV. It has that ball shape not just for beauty but also to maximize storage capacity in a relatively compact footprint. And on the roof, instead of just glass or tiles, they planted an entire forest of birch and pine trees, a little park floating above the city. It is one of the most surreal rooftops I have ever seen. Now, as we step inside, you will notice that the design is completely different from a traditional museum. Instead of silent halls with carefully curated displays, the depot feels like walking through a treasure warehouse. Paintings are stored in huge sliding racks that you can literally pull out. Sculptures, design objects, and even delicate works on paper, all arranged openly in climate-controlled glass cases. And the point here is not perfection, but honesty. You see not just the masterpieces, but also the scratches, the restoration work, even the tags and the cataloging systems. The collection is massive and eclectic. You might turn one corner and see Dutch masters like Peter Bruegel or Hieronymus Bosch, and then suddenly find yourself in front of a surreal Salvador Dali or Van Gogh sketch. There are also contemporary pieces, video installations, modern design chairs, and even quirky objects that make you smile. Every visit is a bit of a lucky dip. You never know which racks are open and what treasures you will bump into. What I find fascinating is the transparency of conservation. You can actually see labs and workshops where conservators are restoring paintings or examining delicate manuscripts. Normally this is hidden from the public, but here it's part of the story. Art isn't static. It is constantly being cared for, studied and reinterpreted. And this brings me to one of my favorite Dutch innovations, the museum cart or the museum card. With one subscription, I paid 70 euros a year. You can walk into more than 400 museums across the Netherlands, from the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam to tiny regional collections in villages. It's like Netflix for culture. Now imagine if India had something like this, a national museum card. For one subscription, you could enter the National Museum in Delhi, the Salar Jung in Hyderabad, the Indian Museum in Kolkata, the Hill Palace in Kochi, or even smaller state-run museums. It would encourage people to explore, give them a sense of ownership over their culture, and create a steady revenue stream for preservation. Instead of occasional ticket sales or just depending on government grants, our museums could build a sustainable financial model through subscriptions. The Dutch approach here tells you something about their culture. Art is not kept away for elites, it's opened up for everyone. You can click a photo anywhere, you can make videos inside the place. It is not that the videos or the photos will result into the art being stolen. This is in sharp contrast to what we experience in Indian museums. The depot shows that even the storage rooms, the places you are not supposed to see, can become part of public conservation. It is almost democratic in spirit. As I walk through these spaces, I can't help but compare it to India. We have such vast treasures, from Indus Valley artifacts to Mughal miniatures, Chola bronzes, Kerala murals, but so much of it is either hidden away in storerooms or displayed without context. If our museums could adopt even a fraction of this transparency and couple it with something like the museum card, it could completely change the way we Indians engage with our heritage. Finally, look around here. The depot doesn't feel intimidating. People of all ages walk in casually. Some spend 10 minutes, some spend hours. There is no pressure to be an art expert. You just explore, discover, and come back whenever you like. And I think that is the real success. Making art part of daily life, not just once in a year field trip. Now we are walking through Rotterdam's Museum Park, a space where art meets everyday life. Right here is Picasso's Sylvette, a striking sculpture that almost sneaks up on you in the middle of an open plaza. And just around the corner stands the Armenian church, quietly reminding us of Rotterdam's multicultural fabric, shaped by centuries of trade and migration. But what really stands out here isn't just the art, it is the civic infrastructure. We often read about the Indus Valley civilization in school, how they may not have left behind great statues or paintings, but they gave the world a model of urban planning, drainage systems, well-laid streets, standardized brickwork. Walking through Rotterdam, I can't help but feel a parallel. Even if the Dutch left behind nothing else, their civic sense, their infrastructure, the way they design cities for people would be enough to remember them by. Look around. Wide walkways, cycle lanes that are as important as car lanes, smooth roads, and crossings where people actually wait patiently for the signal to turn green. It is such a contrast to the chaos of Indian roads where horns, shortcuts, and jaywalking are part of daily life. Here, you realize that traffic discipline isn't just about rules, it's about culture. When everyone follows it, road rage almost has no reason to exist. This is something that really has to be experienced to be understood. It makes you wonder, what if we in India took civic sense as seriously as we take academics or careers? What if our universities had civic exchange programs where students could spend a semester just living in a city like Rotterdam, not for the classes, but to learn how society moves together? That in itself would be an education, a lesson in how culture isn't only about art or language, but also about how we share streets, signals, and spaces. And now we are at Kralingse Plas, a large lake on the eastern side of Rotterdam, where the little river Rotte meets its basin. This area is where the city itself takes its name from. Rotterdam, the dam on the Rotte. Over the years, the Dutch have transformed this place into something like a natural city beach. You will see sandy shores, children playing, families picnicking, joggers, cyclists, and even small sailing boats drifting lazily across the water. It's not just a lake, it's a community space where nature and urban life blend seamlessly. Standing here, I can't help comparing it with the lake cities of India. Udaipur with its palaces reflecting on the water, Bhopal with its twin lakes, Bangalore, once called the city of lakes, or even my own Kerala with its backwaters. We are blessed with such variety, such abundance. Rivers, lakes, lagoons, mountains, and yet, too often we encroach upon them, dump waste, or let them shrink into nothing. Instead of nurturing them as public spaces, we treat them as leftovers to be filled or built over. The Dutch, on the other hand, had no choice but to respect water. After all, much of their land is below sea level. They turned that vulnerability into strength, designing lakes, canals, and beaches as part of civic life. Where we see inconvenience, they see opportunity. Where we often fence off our lakes, they build walking trails, cycle paths, and cafes that let people enjoy them every day. Sometimes, as Indians, we don't realize how much we take for granted. The variety of landscapes our country offers is unmatched. Snow-capped mountains, deserts, rainforests, coastlines, rivers, lakes, and yet we behave like spoiled children, careless with the gifts we have inherited. Don't mistake me, my fingers are pointed inward too. It's only when I stand here on the shores of this Dutch lake that I realize how much ours has to offer, if only we learn to cherish it.
I can hear the demons call when they do what they do. And now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through, I just gotta get through. Cause I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through.
The next day, I started from Riv 010, an urban company that offers canoeing and water sports experiences right in the heart of Rotterdam. From here, I set off on my very first canoe ride, gliding into the Rotte River and making my way slowly towards Kralingse Plas. I'll admit, at first I was scared. Sitting low in the water, every little sway of the canoe felt like I might topple over. But after a few minutes, once I got the hang of the paddle, the fear began to fade. The water was calm, the city bank slowly slipped by, and soon I found myself actually enjoying the rhythm. By the time I reached the lake, what began as hesitation had turned into one of the most memorable rides of my week. Experiences like this remind me that travel is never only about places or people. It's also about the unexplored corners of ourselves. Sometimes it's about countenancing your own fears, stepping outside comfort zones, and realizing that courage isn't about not being afraid, but about moving through that fear. And that brings me to the close of my very first week in Europe, here in Rotterdam. From skylines and museums to lakes and this canoe ride, it has been a journey of both discovery and reflection. Until the next set of places and experiences. See you soon.